BPod Studios.
On the air, online, on the air. This is how Boston sports fans start their day. Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Fred, hello. Yeah. Hello. Human feces, urine, and debris. Ta-da. Hello. Yes. Hello. Jackpot. Hello. Hello.
I'm John Wallach on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Hello.
How do you like that?
Welcome to the show. How humiliating.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning. We are Toucher and Hardy. This hour on the Sports Hub is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. We're in the Town Fair Tire Studios. You can watch us on Twitch at twitch.tv. You ever go to the movie shows there, fellas? How often do you go to the movies?
I would say on average once a month.
Fair enough. How about you, Wall Game? You always seem to be running around town. You don't go to the movies that often. Do you?
No, I do not. I would say maybe twice a year for me now. Yeah, not often.
You know, I went several years without going to the movies.
Yeah, I maybe saw a movie in a theater once or twice a year, but then started going more just like with what, like my son and I would go see something that my wife and daughter didn't care about, or I would take the kids, or Marcy and I would go to something. And once you start going again and you like realize, oh, it's not like going to the movies like before. You don't have to worry about anyone, kicking your chair anymore because everyone's sitting 15 feet apart.
Everything's stadium seating.
Yeah, everything's stadium seating. And some of these movies in IMAX are like...
And assigned seats, you don't have to worry about getting there
right,
early or anything.
It's just like, it's a pretty enjoyable way to spend a couple hours, especially if it's something you want to see. So, yeah, I started going more, I would say, in the last 2 years, started going more.
Yeah, I probably go twice a month because of my daughter. Because if in the twice a month, certainly when it's cold, or if it's raining, because my daughter is going through a stage right now where she wants to hang out with me. So I go. So I have the kids every other weekend because on the account of the divorce.
Yes,
and that means so probably twice a month I'll go to the movies with my daughter, and so. You start scrambling and you start going, is anything playing?
I was just going to say, you run out of twice a month. You got to run out of movies.
Well, she goes to stuff that she doesn't want to see. Like we saw The Layovers, we saw American Fiction. Oh no, I saw American Fiction with someone else. But I saw like the Holdovers. I apologize, the Holdovers.
I mean, it is an award-winning film, Fred.
Not the big one yet. They haven't even. For the nomination, it's the big one.
Do they mention Golden Globes on the DVD cover? They do.
Yeah, but that's to placate the idiots.
Wow.
Unless it's won the Golden Palm, I don't have any time for it.
What about a Golden Raspberry?
Mr. Sandler, eat a little crow.
These movies stink.
I think the Golden Palm, even though it does sound like an AVN award, is...
That's what I thought it was. It's not.
I wish I was that clever. I think it's Sundance.
Oh.
No,
Sundance or Cannes. It's like one of those.
Yeah, it's Connor Can, whatever the hell.
That's unfortunate. That's an unfortunate name for an award.
Yeah, the Golden Palm would be a great Hustler award, even though Hustler wasn't as subtle with their. Do you remember how Hustler reviewed pornography?
No.
They gave it a certain number of.
No, it wasn't a number. It was the degree of which you were.
Okay.
1/4.
Yeah.
Flaccid.
Yeah.
One quarter half, and so on and so forth.
Or hang wet laundry on.
Otherwise known as a Cialis. But I did find this interesting. Dan sent this to us. Doesn't it fascinate you when someone said a movie reviewer says something's the worst movie they've ever seen?
Yeah, well, we were talking about this morning, and Dan sent the story. So, yeah,
only because it caught my attention. It was
I find it funny. Sam Rockwell is in this thing.
He's very good.
Bryan Cranston, John Cena. You hate Bryan Cranston?
No. I'm saying that both Sam Rockwell and Bryan Cranston are very good. John Cena, I don't.
Well, he's a big star.
Yeah,
Samuel L. Jackson, Catherine O'Hara.
Henry Cavill is the main guy, right?
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
He was Superman, yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know who he is.
Dua Lipa?
Dua Lipa's only in it for 5 minutes, according to this article.
Thank you for reading that, Fred. Yes, we talked about that, too.
Is
as well, so.
Da Baby in it? Because sometimes Dua Lipa does a song with Da Baby.
Oh.
Dua Lipa was in an episode of Dave where he meets her on Raya and then Araya, and it's just their whole texting thing, and then she ends up shining on him. Oops, spoiler alert.
I know, I'm only on episode 6.
Well, the Dua Lipa episode is really the what it all hinges on. So this is just the first paragraph of this. I always find this fascinating. Walking out an early screening of Matthew Vaughn's, whoever that is, new action thriller Argyle, you'll recall this is like it got a cat on it. I experienced an emotion I rarely feel after watching a movie, boiling white-hot anger. Argyle is one of the worst movies I've ever seen, full stop. It's not so bad it's good like Cats or The Room. It's a $200 million. $200 million?
Jesus.
Did you even know this was a movie?
Yes, I've seen commercials for it.
Okay.
Yes.
It's a $200 million abomination whose contempt for its audience is likely only eclipsed by its stars. And then it goes on and on about why it's bad. And then at the end, it says, I saw more than 100 new movies in 2023. Not one of them was as ill-conceived or stunningly awful as Argyle.
Jeez.
If it were legal, I would camp outside of AMC this weekend. Don't let it stop you. The teachers are breaking the law. If it were legal, I would camp outside AMC this weekend and beg people to see any movie instead of this affront to cinema.
Henry Cavill and Dua Lipa were on Good Morning America promoting this thing yesterday.
Well, then I immediately go to Rotten Tomatoes and see what fools like the movie. Because if someone hates something this much, I don't want to hear that you liked it.
Man.
Then isn't that funny? Like, I always will take the word of the negative person. I guess you would assume that. But I go to Rotten Tomatoes and I immediately start seeing if anyone liked it, and then I just irrationally hate the person that liked it.
Okay.
So was he trying? We talked about that too. Was he trying to get ahead of all the other bad reviews that are going to come out about this movie?
No. There's Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
Everyone's reviewed it, but the guy from like the Atlantic liked it, and so now I think he's a fool. Even though I know nothing of Argyle, I'll never see it.
I watched the trailer. I couldn't get through it.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's bad.
2 minutes.
That's bad.
And there's some movies where even if people push back on it and say it's really, really good, you know whether or not you like something, and especially as a movie critic. Fred, you mentioned the guy from The Atlantic, guy from CNN. Both gave it, a somewhat positive review. The last movie I walked out on, which I thought think is unwatchable, it's terrible, it is, like a lot of these reviews, just a bloated mess, was Babylon. And it's one of these 3-hour movies. It's, I don't know, like a period piece for Hollywood, like maybe in the 30s. And it's got all the stars in it, like Brad Pitt is in it. And who's the super hot chick from Barbie?
Oh, B. Arthur.
Yeah.
Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie is it. I think she's in it. And all these people. And it's just it's so good. It's so good. It's so good. With an hour left, I stood up. I said, I'm all done. I don't care. I hate this. I think it's stupid. I thought it was stupid in the first 5 minutes. I knew I was going to hate it, and I kept getting angrier and angrier. Mm-hmm. But people swore it's like, you just don't understand. I totally understood what they were going for, and I thought it sucked.
Do you guys go to the movies a lot? How often do you go to the movies?
Me?
Do you see what I just did there? It's Groundhog's Day.
I was like, what's wrong? What the hell's wrong with you? Just ask me that. All right. It's Groundhog's Day.
Fred.
So I repeated what I had done before.
Because he saw Gobbler's Knob on the TV, and he thought, Groundhog Day, how do I work this into
Yeah,
it?
and a lot of you would just say it's Groundhog's Day, but you're not funny. What I did is I went and I said it's Groundhog's Day, and I go, what happens? What about the movie Groundhog's Day where he repeats everything?
Can we you want to take the last, I don't know, 3 hours and 45 minutes of the show and talk about Andy McDowell in Groundhog Day? And also,
have you pleasured yourself to Andy McDowell in Groundhog Day?
Stop it. That's filthy.
Fred, I feel like he'd be kind of a groundhog.
Oh, yeah, that took some research to figure out what he was saying, and it ain't good.
I mean, she was starting to lose a little something off the fastball on Groundhog's Day. You really got to go back to St. Elmo's Fire.
Well, I think here's what I think happened with you and Andy McDowell in St. Elmo's Fire. I think that you were too influenced by Emilio Estevez's lust for her and obsession with her.
No.
It really led you down a primrose path.
No.
You've never have you pleasured yourself to Groundhog's Day?
It is the least sexy movie on the planet.
Doesn't matter. If you find... I've pleasured myself to the Golden Girls and to the Weather Channel and to the Vicki Lawrence show.
You got to figure the baseline.
And that does
here.
not make it normal or something that other people do.
Well, I didn't do it at 47. I did it.
Well,
I did it.
Let's see. Groundhog's Day came out in '93. There's a thing about it online.
Yeah,
today.
but that's pre-internet. I mean, there was still. I mean, if you find her that attractive, did you ever use MTV?
Okay, you know what I'm attracted to, Fred? It's her mind. And she played a doctor in St. Elmo's Fire, and I find that very sexy, very intelligent.
Was she ever in anything where she was nude?
Ooh. Oh, what is the least?
Mr. Skin.
I don't know. She
we
wears
gotta
a lot
find
of
that out.
sweaters and things of that ilk. I can't think of a movie where she even shows so much as a forearm.
Well, she is very much of the sweater era of filmmaking.
Andy McDowell, least amount of clothes she's ever had on screen.
Ooh. Can you research? Can you just Google that?
I got Mr. Skin up.
Okay.
Oh boy, it's not letting me search unless you remember. I wonder if our old.
Wait, she was in Sex Lies
The
and
username and
Videotape.
password will work. You remember it, Fred?
Yeah, well, it's not hard.
She was in Sex Lies and Videotape, but again, ironically,
that's
very unsexy movie.
That's how I rated boobs pop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It doesn't work anymore. Our old password for Mr. Skin was Toucher, and then there was the username, and Rich was the password.
Oh, okay.
Did he give you an account, Mr. Skin himself?
No, Mary Manna was like, "You guys need a Mr. Skin account." our general manager, she's like, every show needs a Mr. Skin account, or else how are we going to do this? All right, Tardy, as I stay somewhat on clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
are we going to talk about, Mr. Tease? We were in a meeting with the program director, and you know what? Hardy's like, you know what the big problem with the show is no teases.
Yeah.
Which was kind of throwing me under the bus.
We'll be right back. Slowly bring down the faders on my big fancy mixing.
It's nice to know I haven't been annoying you. All right, go ahead. What do we got coming up?
You brought it up 9 times after you said it didn't bother you, so obviously it bothered you a little.
No, it bothered you that I said it, so I keep doing it. Go ahead.
Celtics played a game last night that we were first excited about, and then we weren't excited about it. And based on the outcome, now everyone's excited for the wrong reason. The Celtics have a new offensive coordinator, and the last head coaching job in the NFL has been filled, which means somebody doesn't look like they're going to be working this year.
Oh, boy. All right, we will be back in just a moment.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Award-winning movies often have incredible soundtracks, and many of those have gone on to become country gold. We've picked our top 5 country songs that have been nominated for an Oscar. Text Oscar to 45911 to see if your favorite made the list on BackstageCountry.com. Text Oscar to 45911 and we'll send the link straight to your phone.
Toucher, Hardy.
You get used to sitting back and letting Daddy drive the car.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
Did you catch a game last night?
All right, we are Toucher and Hardy. This is going to disappoint Mike Lockhart. Dateline yesterday. Fans of David Andrew Bird's FXX comedy series Dave, which follows the successful comedian rapper both in and out of his Little Dicky stage persona, will need to resign themselves to not seeing it again for a minute or possibly ever. Variety reports tonight that the series has been put on a hiatus at its home network, which is basically TV making code for we don't feel like making another season of television show right, but we reserve the right to begin making it again on a later date. That's disappointing, even though the last season wasn't as good.
So I'm still on season 1 right now. If I make it to the end of this, is it going to leave me hanging to the point where I want more? Is it, like you said, kind of a letdown and like you really don't kind of care?
If it ended after the first or second season, I would be devastated. But the idea that it ended after the last season, I'm not as upset about it.
Okay.
It's the same thing with Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like, if it just never came back again, like, I would be fine with it. There's such a library of it now, even though the last season was good. But it's like there's like enough of it. I don't know if there's a show that I'd be really upset that wasn't on anymore.
Are you a huge Curb guy?
No.
I see. It seems like something that should be perfect for me. I like Seinfeld. I like Larry David.
You like guys who get pissed off at other people?
Well, I just like Larry David, like out in public and, doing his stuff. But that show, there's just something that's off about it where I can't put my finger on it. It's either like the acting or it's too much improv. And I think
there's a lot of dead characters in it, like the characters that aren't funny. Like, I mean, Richard Lewis isn't funny. Jeff Garland's not funny. It's the woman, the Jeff Garland's wife in it is funny. The JB Smoove is funny.
Is very funny.
And that's kind of pretty much it. Like, and then everyone else that he has on isn't funny. Like, Ted Danson's okay. Cheryl Hines not funny, even though she's married to the RFK Jr.
Yep.
She's not funny.
Which is funny.
Which is kind of funny. The ancillary people like are generally not funny. Vince Vaughn's not supposed to be funny.
Oh, I haven't seen Vince Vaughn on Curb.
Yeah, he's on it a lot now.
Okay.
He's a member of the country club.
But so this is it. Like some of the scenarios, it's shot obviously very realistically on real settings, and they've got a lot of real people in the improv to make it feel real. But then there's these totally implausible scenarios that even for Larry David, I'm like, he's not this obtuse. He would not, even Larry David acting as Larry David would not get himself into, such a situation as this, behaving as selfishly and as stupidly as he does.
What season are they on? I know they were out for a while, but what season is this now?
I don't know. I've seen maybe 8-10 episodes in my life.
Right.
I can't get into it.
I think I watched them all in like the course of 5 days. I was sick or something, and I just all I did was watch Curb Your Enthusiasm. That's for some reason I was locked in. It was one of those sicknesses where I couldn't use my eyes too much. Like you can't read, like when you're real sick, and you just need something. Like I actually was focused on it because it was the only thing I could concentrate on was the TV.
Right.
Like I couldn't look at the computer. Like when you're real sick, and so I watched them all in 3 days when I was sick. So maybe I also associate it with being sick. Yeah. But I Seinfeld's so great. And obviously Larry, but I like the seasons of Seinfeld where Larry David was gone. Like the last season, I think when he gets not Dick Cavett, when he gets Kramer finds the old talk show set, but Merv Griffin set. Oh. When he finds the old Merv Griffin set, and I think that's a great episode. But some people say season 9 of Seinfeld's not that great because. You know what? And I don't believe them because they're it doesn't, all the stories don't fit together. And it's and what are you, do you call bank on NBA 3-pointers? Who cares? It's a 22-minute comedy.
Oh my God. Season 9 has Junk Mail, The Merv Griffin Show, The Slicer. The Slicer is a fantastic episode.
Yeah, with the cat when they.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff.
Because Jason Alexander has come out and said that he doesn't like season 9 that much, and that was time to end the show. And he says because Jerry Seinfeld's favorite comedy thing of all time is Laurel and Hardy, so it turned into like Laurel and Hardy, which they sort of did, but sort of mockingly. See, I love season 9.
Yeah,
the only that season 9 might have had the wedding in India that goes in reverse, which is not episodes that I like that much. But other than that, I think it's very strong.
Yeah, and then once you get to the finale, it's not even worth.
Well, Larry David came back for the finale.
Well, the 2-part finale is, to me, not even worthy of mention. If anyone, I would recommend anybody who hasn't watched Seinfeld, whatever you do not watch the finale. They changed like the whole tone of the show. And these people become like likable dickheads into just like, oh no, they're just totally unlikable now. Like the whole the whole premise of the finale is flawed because
I think the premise of the finale is good. It's just poorly executed. Like I know what they were trying to do. Like they were. I think it's like actually a smart way that they thought of ending the show.
In terms of bringing everyone back,
no, but also in terms of the idea that they finally got in trouble, that the absurdity of there's a law for not caring. And that makes sense. Like, I understand how that got pitched. Like, wouldn't it be funny if there was a law for not caring? Like, everything this show has been based on, they finally get comeuppance for. And then thereby we can bring everyone back and do this huge, like, spectacle. So I get what they were trying to do. I don't think it's flawed at all. I think it sounded great when they were probably pitching it. And then when they were making it, it probably seemed good too. And then just when they aired it, they probably went, "Oh, that wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be."
It's just that scene where, like, you know, the assault is taking place, and they're standing there laughing at the guy. I'm like, no episode of Seinfeld would the characters do that. Kramer would, turn into Batman and try and save him, and Jerry and Elaine would both be like, "Oh my God, shouldn't we do something?" And instead, they like stand there and laugh. I'm like, you lost me.
Well, they can't take into account how precious you keep it.
Okay. Oh, so you do like it? You think it's good?
No, I don't think the last 2 episodes are very good, but I understand why they thought it was a good idea. So, I mean, I think that, but I understand the creative process, I guess. More than you do.
Glorified clip show is what that finale is.
No, they did a very real clip show before it where they played Time of Your Life by Green Day over clips.
Also not good.
No, that wasn't good at all. I worked at a bar where we had a Seinfeld party that night.
Oh.
And a 90210 party, the last episode of 90210.
You're working at the Bees? You're serving up those top shelf marks?
No, the Bees was our enemy. I worked at TGI Fridays.
Oh, come on. They had good mozzarella sticks at TGI Fridays.
I agree.
Celtics had the Lakers in town last night. We were all excited for it because we're going to get to see LeBron James. We're going to see Anthony Davis. We're sitting here talking yesterday about how this is still a rivalry and this still has juice. And then come to find out that LeBron is sitting with knee issues?
No, it's an ankle tendinopathy.
Yes,
something.
You could tell because he refused to stand up the whole game.
So he played 36 minutes in Atlanta 2 nights earlier. It's fine.
Okay,
and he was in street clothes, walking around and jumping up and down.
So does this annoy you, Fred? That it's not enough for an NBA player to sit out. You can tell they spend a lot of time picking out their outfit for being on the bench that night.
Yep.
Yes, and since you brought it up, I will say this, is that, so Austin Reeves, we're not telling you anything you don't know. Austin Reeves went off last night. After the game, they talked to Austin Reeves, and TNT did, and they're like, how big a factor was LeBron James, like, in tonight's game? Like, LeBron doesn't play, and they're still giving, I mean, it's too much. Like, he didn't play last night. First of all, they're talking about they're going to fire this coach.
Darvin
Ham. But if I'm another team, I go, all right, well, Darvin Ham. I mean, if I'm just taking something from last night, I'm like, this team he was playing with pace.
He was playing with 7 guys basically last night.
Yeah, because one of them got hurt.
Vanderbilt got hurt early in the game.
Got hurt after the first half. So by the way, when Holiday was on Reeves, I felt bad for Reeves because Reeves couldn't dribble.
Yeah.
Like, Reeves isn't a good enough ball handler or quick enough to get past Holiday. They could have won that game if they just get Holiday and Reeves.
Well, Reeves, first of all, he got hot early, and there was one possession where the Celtics absolutely smothered them, and Reeves, like, heaved a three, and it went in. I'm all right.
Floats it to the left side. Reeves, deep three. Got it. His sixth three of the night. He's got 25 on the national stage, and the Lakers have a 16-point lead.
Wow. Oh, boy. Grandy loves it. It's not on NBC.
68-52, that made it. I mean, you got the sense early on that this was not going to go well, A, because of those horrific Lakers jerseys. Oh, my God, those uniforms are trash. And if this team jumps out to a lead, it's like, oh, it's like one of those nights. Remember the Celtics last year had, like, nobody. They didn't have Jaylen Brown. They didn't have Jason Tatum. They had to play the Bucks in Milwaukee, and just everybody showed up. I mean, Derek White, Marcus Smart, they were all just playing out of their minds.
Might have been Valentine's Day.
Yeah, it was one of those nights for the Lakers last night, and you're like, oh, okay. They're going to shoot better than them. They're going to rebound better.
Reeves goes behind his back, hands to Jackson Hayes. Hayes returns it to Austin Reeves, who drives, floats it from 10 feet, no good. Rebound. Punched up by Hayes. He comes up with another offensive rebound. Put back is good. Scored and the foul. And the Celtics are losing every 50-50 ball tonight.
Yeah, they came out, the Celtics did. They were playing their fourth game in 6 nights, whatever. They turned the ball over 8 times in the first quarter. In the first quarter, they turned the ball over 8 times. Keep in mind, the Lakers only turned the ball over 7 times for the entire game. They couldn't get out of their own way.
You heard what Barkley said at the half.
I did not hear that.
He said Brown and Tatum aren't tough enough.
Oh, I didn't
said
hear
that
him
if
say that.
they said if they want to win a championship, that your stars need to be tougher.
Did Barkley also say at the half or in the post game that he was starting to like taking 1 foot off the Celtics bandwagon, like he's starting to like lose faith in this team?
Well, considering his track record of predicting things, that's fine. I have no trouble with
I
him
do
leaving.
love how these guys will, we get called out for reacting too strongly to one game. Do you remember everybody willing to write off the Miami Heat? It's over. It's done. Stephen A. Smith. It's like, forget it. They can't do it anymore. LeBron James is done because they lost a big game against the Celtics in the playoffs. Like, you think we're bad?
Yeah.
These guys who played in the NBA are some of the greatest players of all time. Sit there and watch one half of basketball, and they're like, oh.
I'm being told in my ear on this very show there was someone who said the Celtics are going to the finals.
Like they were up 2-0 a couple of years ago. John, no.
Yeah.
Mark my words.
That's right.
Celtics are going to the finals.
That's right. I remember that. Yep.
Yeah.
Very true.
I don't see. We have the luxury of not having to talk of sport. That's the thing, is that I can't blame anyone if you only can talk about basketball and you just got to talk about basketball like an idiot every day and have something to say. That's why Barkley is so good, is because he makes something that should be really unentertaining entertaining.
Well, that's the problem. If you have to talk about one topic all the time and you censor yourself to stay in a certain lane, that's one thing. That's really the gift that Barkley has because, yes, he only talks about basketball on that show, but he doesn't care how he presents it. That's the other part of it.
And he doesn't have the same cadence every time. You know who is insufferable is J.J. Redick. He is really insufferable.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah,
before.
so like if you're retweeting J.J. Redick or like putting out a video of J.J. Redick, you're poisoning the world. It's tantamount to vandalism.
J.J. Redick might be on the number 1 broadcast team. He may replace Doc Rivers by the end of the year.
Well, I got news for you. Mom and Pop America ain't going to like J.J. Redick because he states the obvious as if he's like, he's come up with cold fusion.
And not only...
And he's so pretentious and such a dick.
That's the word I was looking for.
I think if you spend more than 2 years playing basketball at Duke, you become like a huge pretentious dork who has no sense, but you think you're cool.
You
Back
think
in
you're
Reading,
cool
yeah.
and smart. You think you think you've got the intelligence and the swagger.
Well,
and
Like even the clothes he wears just make me very angry. Go ahead.
Well, part of the problem is Redick played all 4 years there. If it was back in the day, he would have left after 2.
Yeah.
But you're right. He was in that Duke culture for 4 years.
No, he wasn't good enough to come out after his freshman year. He needed to show everybody that he could bulk up. All right, what's coming up, Hardy?
I do want to play for you Joe Mazzulla in his post game. I think you'll enjoy his back and forth with
Gary Washburn.
There you go. And something on this new OC for the Patriots, courtesy of Tommy Crum. We'll get to that.
All right, we'll be right back.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Lainey Wilson is on a roll. She's delivering great music and teaming up with some of country's hottest acts. Text Lainey to 45911 to see which 4 Lainey Wilson collabs have us talking at BackstageCountry.com. Text Lainey to 45911 to get a link to the list sent right to your phone from BackstageCountry.com.
Zolak and Bertrand get you through the workday at 10. Right now, it's Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
I always think this is going to be Paul Westerberg.
We were doing an exercise the other day, Fred, that I don't know if you would have been good at it, actually, because you were kind of ignoring a lot of the 90s pop culture stuff that Dan would have been probably okay with. We were trying to come up with couples from 90s alternative music, like interband dating.
Well, Sonic Youth.
Okay, and also you can cross bands. So like Dave Grohl and Louise Post from Veruca Salt.
All right, everyone in Courtney Love.
Everyone in Courtney Love, yes.
So I can be specific. Billy Corrigan, Trent Reznor, with Courtney Love.
Kurt Cobain, obviously. There's one more that they claim all they did was heroin together, but I think they were doing more.
Who?
I'll give you a hint. She picked him up from rehab, and they called a radio station in L.A. to explain what was going on as they drove off to do heroin together. Scott Weiland.
Oh. He played at Ernie Bach's party one time I was there.
But you said Paul Westerberg, and somebody said when we were brainstorming these, Paul Westerberg and Juliana Hatfield. You know about that one?
Juliana Hatfield and Evan Dando.
Not aware of it.
And Juliana Hatfield and Evan Dando. So that was like a love triangle one that we had.
Really? Westerberg. Good for him. I read Trouble Boys, and I did not know that. You'd be surprised what I know, Hardy, due to my reading all the stupid biographies.
Yeah, but I mean, this was like in the weeds stuff for the 90s, and you were...
No. In terms of like the actual art, I have no clue. But in terms of like the stories of these guys, I know everything. Just because I read all these dumb books, I went through. That's all I've read. I've probably read 200, 300 rock biographies.
So you can tell me about Courtney Love's romantic interest, but you can't tell me one song from "Live Through This."
I don't even. I know "Live Through This" is a whole album, and I know that "Celebrity Skin" is the name of one of their songs. And I know other songs, but I couldn't tell you the names of them.
No.
All right, go ahead.
You're not missing anything. All right, I think Kurt Cobain wrote that "Live Through This."
I just am fascinated by her hold on people. As someone who has met her on several occasions, she's not overly attractive, nor does she have a good personality.
No.
So, like, I don't understand really what this attraction was. I guess heroin. She must have had access to an incredible amount of heroin.
Joe Mazzulla in the post game last night.
Speaking of heroin, hey, what did the Red Hot Chili Peppers say when their producer said he didn't like their new tracks?
What?
Well, they put on long sleeves. What is Red Hot Chili Peppers guitarist John Frusciante's favorite model of guitar?
I don't know. What?
Well, it's called the Methotone.
Joe Mazzulla got into a back and forth with Gary Washburn last night. Following
Harriet Tubman. What do Red Hot Chili Peppers and Harriet Tubman, great African-American emancipator Harriet Tubman, have in common?
Right, I can't imagine.
I don't know.
Well, Harriet Tubman was a heroine to slaves.
There we go.
And the Red Hot Chili Peppers were slaves to...
Gotcha.
Heroin.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's one thing to miss shots and not execute. It's another thing not to play hard and to get booed and guys not get back on.
Getting booed. It's good for you.
Guys not get back on defense, transition baskets after you guys make a basket. Like that has to be a concern, that the lack of effort as opposed to like missing shots or just not executing.
I'm not concerned by it. I'm not happy about it, but I'm not concerned by it. I think it's unacceptable. Doesn't mean that like I'm concerned. We'll work through it. You know, I think part of bad stretch of basketball is physical just as much as mental.
I mean, he's so combative. He can't even like allow the, oh man, he getting booed. That's bad.
Bringing him in off the street, and yes.
That was
Tom Curran then popped up and just said, I don't have enough to do.
But it's like when Washburn says, oh, you're getting booed by the home crowd.
That's in past Tatum.
God, Jesus Jones, this frickin' thing.
Booed and guys not get back on.
I don't mind getting booed. It's good for you.
Really? You don't mind getting booed? At the Garden.
I have a feeling
and when you're
Missoula
playing the
doesn't mind
Lakers.
getting booed. I have a feeling Missoula doesn't mind getting booed. He probably does in that weird brain of his. It probably does something.
See, I think the opposite. I think he is so combative and so competitive. He will not allow anyone to place a thought into his mind as just like, well, obviously you don't want to get booed. You don't know that. Well, why would you say that?
You're friends with him, so I don't know.
It's pushing it. All right. Do you want to hear?
But Hardy's a big defender of Missoula because Missoula is nice to him. Go ahead.
No, I think he is a much more multi-layered, multifaceted guy than he gets credit for.
You would know. I mean, you would know. I'm not being sarcastic either. You would know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never met the man. Nor do I care to, quite frankly.
Well, good, because he told me flat out he does not want to meet you.
Yeah, that just means I had an effect on him. This is a thin line between love and hate, baby.
All he did was he saw a picture of you and he said, no thanks.
Well, then he wouldn't know that I'm a groundhog.
By looking at a picture of you, you wouldn't know?
That's how those gay gentlemen describe me as a groundhog, by looking at a picture of me.
Alex Van Pelt. What did you know about Alex Van Pelt?
That he put on a tremendous amount of weight since his playing days.
Yes. You see a picture, like, oh, my.
Yes,
oh my
indeed.
goodness.
I mean, I would go so far as to say fat.
Starting quarterback in the NFL.
Alex Van Pelt was tall, thin quarterback in the NFL.
Yes.
Bills player, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And you remember Van Pelt in the post-Jim Kelly years. And, he's big fatso now.
So I didn't know much about his history as a player. I didn't know.
He's part of the tree, baby. The Shanahan tree.
Okay. Well, forget it, Dan. Thank you. Let's hear from Tommy Curran here.
Alex Van Pelt has been a coordinator, as you said, for Cleveland since 2020. He cycled through a number of different quarterbacks, including this year Joe Flacco, bringing him in off the street. And yes, he's a very experienced quarterback, but you still have to get him up to speed. They cycled through Deshaun Watson down to backup quarterbacks and got them ready to go. Just talked to Phil a little bit, too, as he filled me in on his history, Van Pelt's history. Came up with the Kubiak offense, Gary Kubiak. So that is an offshoot of the West Coast offense because Kubiak was with Mike Shanahan in Denver. So the Shanahan offense is really a precursor to Kyle Shanahan, obviously, and all that.
Yeah, so this is good. I mean, Alex Van Pelt, despite the way he's let himself go, has physically, has play calling experience. He's had success at the NFL level. So this is better than taking some tight ends coach and putting him with the first-year head coach.
It's also really good because now the Patriots actually have an assistant with some experience. One assistant with some experience.
That's what I'm saying.
Doing something. I mean, Covington, while supposedly a very, very good assistant coach, has never had any history of calling plays as a defensive coordinator. Gerard Mayo's never been a head coach. You have a GM who's never had final say in any of the drafts that he's participated in. So finally, you have at least one assistant coach with experience.
Yeah.
So good for the Patriots.
Which is, you're just repeated in a different way what I just said, but I appreciate your agreement. Is that I don't. In Cleveland, I mean, they succeeded with Flacco. Now, you have to remember, Deshaun Watson was a real disaster there. So I wouldn't get so excited. I mean, Deshaun Watson, they gave the world for and mortgaged everything to have, and he hasn't succeeded there. But Flacco played well, and that's more than I can say he ever did for the Jets. So, but at least this guy's called plays. So you have one person One person in the organization. All right, Hardy.
The Deshaun Watson thing bothers me as much as anything else because, man, people were just dead set. It's like, well, put them down for the playoffs.
Yeah.
But, they're going to, at very least, they're probably win the division, and they're going to go. I'm like, A, he hasn't played in like 2 years, and B, everything has to work there. And he didn't play that great, and everything did not work.
Until he got hurt. All right, Hardy, what's coming up? We have a quick break, and then Burt Breer's going to be in studio.
Oh, okay. Well, there's one more thing to get to in terms of what happened last night. As the last head coaching vacancy filled, what does it mean for Bill Belichick? We'll get to it.
We'll be right back.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Country music has so many generous artists who always seem to jump in to help those in need. We're spotlighting 5 who lead by example and lend a helping hand to charitable causes. See who made our list when you text GIVE to 45911. Text GIVE to 45911 and read all about it right now on BackstageCountry.com.
Twitch feed of this is going to be used all around the internet.
Get up.
The cat is finally out of the bag.
Get up.
We're back. Toucher and Hardy.
Get up.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
This hour of Toucher and Hardy is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. And as this show it's clicking on all cylinders, but as we are, this is a relatively new experience. It's just funny getting in, because I was here for 17 years before this. It's Hardy's perspective, and I was telling Hardy, John, about when Bird worked here. Bird, who I like very much now, but Bird working here.
Yeah.
Was no fun and very combative. And then when but people love Bird, so when Bird would be combative to me and I would fight back, the audience would get on Bird's side, which thereby made some other people on the show immediately take the Bird side.
Oh, phone call. Phone call. Oh, man.
Because some people just, whatever you guys said, they were constantly checking and then would shift to what you guys wanted. I was telling Hardy, this would annoy Hardy so much, that Bird's job was just to answer the phones. Now, Bird got let go because he had taken some picture at the beginning of COVID put it on social media about him being out. It had nothing to do with us, any of us. But it was so sad to see him go. Because Bird his job was to answer phones, and then I was telling Hardy that one day he came in with a laptop, and no one thought anything of it. But we were like, why would he need a laptop? And then the next day he came, like a couple days later, he came in with some speakers.
He'd gone to Staples,
right? Exactly.
Picked up a couple speakers that you would take to your office if you wanted to have audio come out of your desktop.
Yeah, and so that happened, and it was kind of weird. And then finally, by the end of the thing, he had speakers, a laptop, and headphones.
The best part about the headphones is you could plug speakers is you could plug headphones into them.
Yeah, and so the reason he had headphones on was so he could watch movies.
Yes.
2 hour, hour and a half, 2.5 hour movies. Movies. Not YouTube, not Instagram film, not TikTok. Effing movies. Yeah. He would sit down and take in a film during the show. You want to talk about working 4 hours? I mean, Lord knows he couldn't call me to on his way in from Everett to wake me up.
That was a huge deal.
He did not like that.
Oh boy, you want to talk about an avalanche of phone calls against Fred?
Oh boy,
oh man,
yeah.
What Fred and real quick, what
much
Fred
to the
wanted,
delight of some people.
What Fred wanted was Bird to call him and wake him up. What was it, 5:30 in the morning, 5:50?
Just
in the morning?
on his way into work, call me.
Whatever it was.
Which is what happened on Drew and Mike. Chris Oliveira used to go to Stern's house in Long Island and go and knock on the door.
Okay, so at the time, to be fair, I thought that was a ridiculous ask.
Uh-huh.
Okay, Jesus, Fred. It is your job to be here on time as the anchor of the show. If you can't get up on time, that's really speaks ill of you. Do you know how much I stress about not waking up on time? It is it is one of the primary reasons why I will not move to another bedroom.
Yep.
Because Marcy, she texted me this morning. I woke up before my alarm, snuck out, left the house, and she was panicked. She's like, "Oh my God, I didn't hear you leave. I thought you overslept." I'm like, "No, it's fine. Thank you." That is a real concern.
Yep.
So I don't think it's ridiculous anymore that you asked him to do that.
It would have been a dick move by me if I was like, you know what? Like for instance, like he hadn't called. I don't know how the whole conversation on air came up, but like if I was like screaming at him for not calling me or like you're fired because you didn't call me. But if I'm like, hey, if you're up anyway and you're driving in from work, can you just make a call? Because as the anchor of the show, it's very noticeable I'm not here. If Bird's not here, no one cares.
Well, those movies aren't going to watch themselves.
Exactly. So anyway, maybe I'm the biggest dick in the world. That's not the point. So I'll take it. I mean, I did at the time. I'll take it again. And I like Bird. Bird's nice. I text with him. I see him. I mean, we're not best friends. Let's be honest.
But Bird is one of those guys that I hardly ever see him. I don't know that I have seen him since he left, maybe once or twice, but I'm always happy to see him.
Everyone loves Bird, but but a terrible, terrible employee. Oof. For a morning show employee, just awful. The man was watching film, like long form film.
Can you give me an example of a movie that he watched? Does anyone know a movie that
That's
he
a
watched?
Dan O'Brien question.
I would imagine.
Schindler's List.
He thought it was this isn't funny. This isn't funny. Why is it black and white? It's not funny. Schindler's List is not a list of jokes.
Watching movies for his podcast when he would put people in the bird cage.
Oh, yeah.
Had to watch the dames.
Dude and Bird.
Okay.
Great podcast.
So he was doing show research just for another show.
By the way, Dude is what now? What does Dude from the Dude and Bird podcast
he's
do
a
for
professor.
a living? He's a college professor.
He's a college professor now.
That is absolutely true.
I don't know if it's still an all-girls school, but it used to be. Regis.
And then he also tours with the band Girls School as the fill-in guitar player. All right, no commercials here, huh?
Yeah, I'm glad that we didn't bother talking about what I said we were going to talk about because we have the best guy here to talk about it.
Yeah,
and Albert Breer.
He's plugged in. Bert Breer from the MMQB.
We could fumble around in the dark. Why bother when Bert's here?
I could watch a movie during Bert's appearance because he just takes the ball and runs. All right, we'll be back in just a moment. No headlines. No commercials, just headlines. Just solid content. There's no reason to turn the dial.